William Afton is fairly known for doing murders. That's kind of the whole point of Five Nights at Freddy's. But while we know plenty about his most famous victims, the missing child incident, Charlotte Emily, even Elizabeth Afton, if unintended, there's one murder that William did that thus far has flown mostly under the radar. One that may have been his first victim, and frankly, one that might not have even been intended. And okay, technically that would make it manslaughter, but like, just stick with me here. So who was William Afton's forgotten victim? The tracks for this train of thought have their first station in Help Wanted 2. It's a weird game on the face of it. One of probably the most fun FNAF games to ever come out, but very esoteric and weird when you're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Help Wanted 1 made sense. It was a collection of in-universe games that served as a way to play through the franchise in VR, and it was explained in-game what the game was. But then we get to Help Wanted 2, and immediately it's unclear as to what is going on. Is this monitor in the center of the lobby diegetic, or does it exist within the game? If it's a real monitor that we're using, are we going through security footage? Are we reviewing files and remembering what we did there? Are we reviewing the mimic's memories? If this monitor isn't in the game world and it's just for the player to pick your minigame, then that makes even less sense. Are we just sitting around doing nothing and thinking about stuff? It's never quite clear. My personal pet theory is it's the AR mask showing us whatever we're pulling up on the monitor. We know it's capable of doing that, but the problem is you can access minigames without the mask on, so what gives? It's made even muddier by the fact that not all of these minigames happen at the same time. Not only do you have minigames from before Security Breach to after Ruin, but there's minigames from Sister Location, and strangest of all, Fallfest, something that would have happened 50 plus years ago. So off the bat, using any of these minigames in any way presents a problem, because what are these minigames? And if you're not sure what they are, how are you supposed to use them as evidence? But if we are to assume that these minigames happened in any way, then I think they're at least valid to talk about. And it would be frankly crazy to release a game where all of the minigames never happened. What's the point? And we know for a fact that some of these minigames did happen. Roxy gets the masks she wears in Ruin in one of these minigames, so on and so forth. Luckily for us, we don't have to talk about any of the more stranger minigames that are harder to explain, like Sister Location. The two minigames of note that I want to bring up are the Fallfest ones I'd mentioned earlier, the Carousel, and all of the Fazerblast levels. Granted, I say two minigames, but as I just said, there's 2 Carousel and like 5 or 6 Fazerblasts. So in reality, there's like 6, 7 minigames we're talking about here, but they're 2 groups. There's the Carousel and Fazerblast. Fazerblast is your classic shooting style minigame, where there are targets to hit, and at first it's a gun, then a gun and balls, then a gun and balls and darts, and it just gets bigger and bigger as you go. Genuinely one of the most fun things to do in the game. But there's a secret path in these minigames, where if you shoot a specific rocket in each level, you slowly break more and more of the attraction until eventually starting a fire and burning it down, unlocking the last secret level where we're defending ourselves from a cardboard cutout of Springtrap with the tools we've gathered in the burnt remains of this Fallfest. The carousel is a bit more straightforward. We have to do a repair task while in the middle of the spinning carousel, all the while keeping Moon at bay with a flashlight. The harder version of the level is the same thing, but now there's fire everywhere and the tasks are more difficult. So, 2 Fallfest minigames that end in a fire. Now, we had been predicting that there was some sort of Fallfest Fire for a long time now, especially after Help Wanted 2 came out. Both of these end in a fire. This poster kind of looks like it has a fire on it, even to the point that in FNAF AR there was the Dark Carnival or Dark Circus or whatever, which was this walkable area that felt like a Fallfest attraction, and it was filled with fire hazards. Barrels of oil, loose hay and wood, a bad combination. But in Secret of the Mimic, we learned even more about this potential Fallfest fire and its cost, because we learned that Fiona Murray went to make sure everything at Fallfest would go smoothly, and she never made it back. Then in Moon.exe, we see the statue that represents her with burn marks, with a Fallfest snow globe at her feet, all but confirming that not only did the Fallfest go up in flames, but it took the life of Fiona Murray. But that itself isn't new. Ever since Secret of the Mimic came out, pretty much all of us immediately understood that Fiona Murray died at the Fallfest, likely due to the fire. So why am I bringing it up now? Well, I think we finally have some decent evidence to tell us where the fire started. Man, this place really just goes. I've been getting used to the back rooms, but rarely have I seen levels so open before. Oh, a sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Titan Mattress. Longtime viewers already know how much I love my Titan mattress, and there's plenty of reasons why. When's the last time you woke up feeling actually refreshed and rested? Did you know you're supposed to wake up feeling good? Because now I get to every day because of Titan. For nearly a year now, myself, my wife, and our 2 oldest kids all sleep on Titan mattresses. And the only reason the baby doesn't sleep in one is because she's still in a crib. But when she gets big enough for her own bed, you know where I'm getting a mattress from. Because all of our sleeps have improved massively thanks to Titan Mattress. Me and our boys are all hot sleepers. I used to wake up drenched in sweat. But luckily, my favorite feature of our Titan Plus Elite is their 2-inch Glaciotex Plus Cooling Cloud Pillow Top. It makes the entire mattress feel like the cold side of the pillow. Sweaty nights, no more. And you don't just have to take my word for it, because Titan Mattress has made it so easy for you to get your hands on one of these mattresses and try it yourself. Not only are Titan mattresses designed, assembled, and shipped from their Arizona factory, which cuts out middleman pricing, but they ship free to your door if you live in the US. Rolled up in a box and easy to set up by yourself. And if you're still not sure, Titan Mattress offers a 120-night sleep trial and a limited lifetime warranty. So if somehow you don't love sleeping on your Titan mattress, you can return it. Don't worry about it though. You're not going to return it. You're going to love it. So if you're ready to start sleeping better, visit titanmattress.com/rytoast to get 30% off with code RYTOAST, which is a huge deal for a mattress. Thanks again to Titan Mattress for sponsoring today's video. Well, no rest for the wicked. Let's keep getting wet. Now look, I get it. The title of the video is William's Forgotten Victim, and I just mentioned Fiona Murray dying in a fire at Fallfest. Don't get ahead of me. I want to address out the gate, I'm not the first person to suggest that William Afton killed Fiona Murray. In fact, it was a theory that came out pretty much immediately after Secret of the Mimic. But it was a theory I was never fond of because it was mostly a logic and vibes theory rather than an evidence-backed one. The argument, as far as I'm aware, up until now was, well, William Afton is a killer and Fiona Murray could have been an obstacle in his way to get MCM, so he probably killed Fiona Murray to get MCM. And I get that. I understand the logic. And because I acknowledge it, I want to start with that argument. After all, you need motive, means, and opportunity. And if we're going to talk about the means and opportunity, we might as well bring up the motive. Now, we know from Secret of the Mimic that William Afton wanted to obtain MCM and all of its properties, likely so that he could make them make more animatronics for Fazbear without paying them super well. And he didn't just want the company, he was desperate for it, actively poaching employees, looking for inside information, making contracts with MCM and purposely messing with them to waste Murray's Costume Manor's time and money. Look, Edwin Murray's a bad businessman and he was gonna go bankrupt eventually, but William Afton was doing everything in his power to expedite that process. A fire at Fallfest would ultimately benefit William Afton. It would be a huge blow to the public image of Murray's Costume Manor, but also likely to their investors. Fallfest as a concept is a win-win for Murray's Costume Manor. Not only do they get the public to like their company more, but it's a perfect time to showcase to investors how effective and safe their animatronics and costumes are. So if you're showing off to investors and you have a massive fire, that's not good. So when we learned that there definitely was a fire at Fallfest, many people assumed that William Afton was the one to set it. And while that's a completely logical line of reasoning, my problem with it was that there was never any evidence. And lighting a fire to an entire festival where people are actively attending is a huge deal, especially for that early in the timeline. In the 1970s, we know William Afton was a bad guy and a seedy, gross businessman, but we have no idea that he's a murderer that early in the timeline, and risking that many lives seems insane without some sort of evidence to back it up. It's why I personally never subscribed to the theory until now. So what evidence is there? What changed my mind? Well, I started going down the rabbit hole to find it, based on a suggestion about the carousel minigame sent into the podcast. Every week, I answer questions and theories submitted via email and Patreon on my podcast, the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Mostly about Five Nights at Freddy's, but sometimes other indie horror, sometimes indie stuff in general like Digital Circus, etc. And one email was sent in by B, she, her. I'll put the full comment probably in the description or the pinned comment. Her email was essentially to bring up one of those help wanted minigames I had mentioned, the carousel. Her theory was that Fiona Murray may have died in a manner similar to what we see happen in the carousel minigame. After all, she went there to make sure things ran smoothly, because Murray's Costume Manor was providing Fallfest with attractions and animatronics. We know that not only did they build the animatronics, but MCM is able to build things like bumper cars and carousels, so they likely built those attractions as well. And if Fiona Murray, one of the co-executives of Murray's Costume Manor, was on the premises and the MCM carousel went down, she'd be the perfect person to go in and fix it. And if she was actively fixing the carousel when the fire started, then her being trapped inside and dying to the fire works very well. And on the podcast, I acknowledge that this is possible, but I still wanted more. Just this alone, while a great nugget of information, isn't necessarily a fully fleshed out theory. So I started racking my brain to try to figure out if we can somehow link William Afton to this Fallfest. We finally have a strong link of Fiona Murray to one of these minigames. Is there anything else in the franchise that can link William Afton to the Fallfest Fire? And then it hit me. There is another Fallfest minigame in Help Wanted 2. In fact, there's another Fallfest minigame in Help Wanted 2 where we start a fire. Phaser Blast. I mean, playing this game, you literally set fire to the Fallfest. But I hear you, what does that have to do with William Afton? Like, at the end of the day, this minigame more than anything implies that Cassie's dad was the one who started the Fallfest Fire? And that does not make any sense. How could we possibly link this Phaser Blast minigame to William Afton? Well, for one, it starts off as sci-fi and western, but quickly shifts to FNAF 1, 2, and kind of 3, with the special burnt minigame that you unlock, which already is weird and starts pointing to other spots in the timeline that are more related to William Afton. I mean, in a way, the final boss of this entire section is William Afton, Springtrap. And sure, that is a loose connection, admittedly. Springtrap is in it, so it's gotta be about William Afton. I hear you. But there is another connection. A connection that I think is frankly stronger, but admittedly makes me sound like an insane person. Turn around in Phaser Blast. What do you see? Hills, trees, and a pickup truck. Would you believe me if I told you that truck is the evidence I need to suggest this minigame is about William Afton? Hear me out. I know, that's not the Midnight Motorist car, but this pickup truck is not only in Phaser Blast. This pickup truck has shown up 2 other times in Steel Wool FNAF games. In 2 other games, actually. The first time it ever showed up was in the lobby of Curse of Dreadbear DLC for Help Wanted, where it sat just outside the lobby, headlights on, pointed at us. Interestingly to note, the only thing we can possibly see on the horizon that this car could have driven from is the FNAF 4 house, implying that someone drove from the FNAF 4 house to here in a car. I mean, William Afton lives at the FNAF 4 house, but I hear you. That's a loose connection. Maybe that's just a Fallfest car. Maybe this car is the Fallfest car. Well, I mentioned this showed up 2 other times. The other time we see this pickup truck, believe it or not, is embedded in the wall outside of the underground Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in Security Breach. And the fact that it's embedded in the wall of that cave, it is the last thing you see before walking past the blob and encountering Burn Trap, the still somehow relevant corpse of William Afton. 2 other times in this franchise, we see a truck, and it's immediately linked to William Afton in some way. And now in Phaser Blast, we again see the same pickup truck with no immediate connection. The only connection being that in this minigame, we light a fire that burns down Fallfest. And if that's true, we have the minigame of Phaser Blast to imply that William Afton started the fire, and the minigame of the carousel to imply Fiona Murray died in it. This story that a lot of people have been saying for a while, in my opinion, finally has some legs to stand on. William Afton, desperate to claim MCM for his own, finally decides to make a big public stunt to ruin its reputation, going to the Fallfest and starting a fire. Something that was frankly quite easy to do. proving to the public that this isn't even safe, let alone something that Edwin Murray should be running. But what he didn't anticipate for was that Fiona Murray, Edwin's wife, would have been there at the time, trying to help the Fallfest run smoothly. And while repairing the carousel, she got trapped in the flames, dying at that Fallfest. And that singular act of greed is what, in a way, started this entire timeline. If it wasn't for Fiona Murray's death, Edwin wouldn't have sought to replace her with the Mimic. And if he never replaced her with the Mimic, then David wouldn't have died. And Edwin Murray wouldn't have gone crazy. And the Mimic wouldn't have been obtained by William, and he likely wouldn't have begun to learn about replacing humans and possession, and working in the sister location bunker, which eventually leads to the death of the crying child. In a way, this original sin from William Afton sprouts into the entire timeline. So yes, I'm finally joining the bandwagon and saying that I think William Afton started the Fallfest fire that killed Fiona Murray. We got some decent evidence for it, and I like the theory a lot. Although I still don't think he killed David Murray, there's no reason for it. In the meantime, if you thought this theory was wild, I made an entire theory on 4 numbers that gets said like once in sister location. But maybe it solves Elizabeth Afton's death. You can find that right here. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share with hashtag ToastArt. And a huge thank you to our generous patrons who help support this channel in lieu of fluctuating ad rates. And a huge shout out to our breadwinners of the month, Aiden S., Madison Esmond, Marks, and Sam Pinnell. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.